Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/JustNoMil. In today's episode, wants us to drive 5 hours for a family get-together when the baby is only 6 weeks old. MIL obsessed with my weight post-birth. MIL wants us to build our new house in their backyard. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Wants us to drive 5 hours for a family get-together when the baby is only 6 weeks old. My MIL has been pushing for a family holiday get-together on a weekend where everyone is available. She suggested a weekend where our baby will only be 6 weeks old. I told her I'm not comfortable driving 5 hours there and back with a newborn. I'll be breastfeeding and I think that's way too much for her to ask. She basically threw a fit, tried to manipulate me, saying I'm being unfair to DH's grandparents, her in-laws not her parents, saying that they don't have many holidays left, they are old, late 80s, but are both in generally good health and aren't expected to die anytime soon. I told her I understood, but I won't risk the health of my unborn child just to appease relatives. Her other DIL she treated like a queen when her first granddaughter was born, and even when the baby was 2 said she couldn't travel a 3-hour trip because it'd be too much with a toddler. Okay, pretty sure breastfeeding and still healing from a C-section or episiotomy is a little worse of a situation. She wouldn't even come pick us up from the airport when we flew in for that grandchild's first birthday party. BC other DIL needed too much help with the baby. I feel like I am not being treated with the same courtesy as the other DIL was when she had her baby. I told JNMIL that once the baby was at least 3 months old we would arrange a trip up to see her great-grandparents then. She then went behind my back to DH and asking why she's not good enough for me? Because I won't endanger the health of my newborn just so you can get your way? I'm done with her right now. Your obstetrician and your baby's pediatrician will have lots of information as to why 5 hours in a car seat is so dangerous and detrimental for a newborn, and why you should not be put under physical, mental, emotional, or social duress after giving birth. So you are medically unable to go. Your entire medical team forbids it. Make sure you mention to her how a 3-hour trip was too much for a 2-year-old. Use her own words against her. Keep standing up for yourself and your decisions. Does DH agree with you on this? Oh, we did LOL, and yes he does. He knows she's a lot to deal with and agrees that she's unreasonable and needy for whatever reason, but at the same time I think is just tired of fighting her too. We did a 6-hour drive with a 6-week-old to see the ILs before I knew I could say no to stuff. Took closer to 10 hours. It was awful. The whole thing was awful. The visit resulted in NC though, so I guess it wasn't the worst since it's been a nice and peaceful 5 years since then and no reconciliation in sight. We did a normally 4-hour trip with our 11-week-old last Christmas. Took closer to 6, she hated the car and screamed the whole way there and back. Had to stop so many times to console her and got so car sick myself reaching back to try and entertain/calm her. Luckily we've done long car trips since and she has improved as she's got a little older. Another bonus is we have a new bigger car where I can actually sit in the back between my 2 kids if I need to. Definitely don't recommend a long car trip with a newborn. Hugs, no is a complete sentence. You are still recovering from a C-section and your child is 6 weeks old. Any time with a family requires everyone to get an MMR and TDAP booster. Manipulating you because DH's grandparents are old is childish and immature manure. The reason she is guilting you is that DH isn't her golden child and your child isn't her firstborn grandchild. Isn't travel for women who've had a C-section restricted for 12 weeks due to risk of rupture in an accident? I think that was the recommendation when I had mine 40 years ago. It may be different now. All of this. It's very hard on babies to be strapped in for long times like that. Their digestive system isn't ready for it and will cause issues. Then you have to drive back. Mil is selfish to say the least. Don't even feel bad for saying no. And don't tolerate pushback. Hang up, change subject, say already asked and answered, tell her she's earned a timeout, or just stop talking, leave dead air space. Ending with a calm no. Do not budge. Enjoy squish. Just logistically, you will have to stop every 2 hours minimum to get baby out of the car seat. That doesn't include when baby poops, needs a bottle, etc. Another poster said she did a 6-hour drive with her newborn and it took closer to 10 hours. No way. I propose a new rule: after you spend 9 pregnant months personally schlepping you and the bubs around literally everywhere you go, then you get to very reasonably expect others to schlepp to see you too for at least the next 9 months after that. So stay home. Heal. Bond. Nap. Get the routine figured out. And if they can't be bothered to make the reasonable effort to come to see you, then that's their poor decision. I wonder if husband is the scapegoat and the other the golden child. That would explain why other DIL is treated like a queen and you like a servant. I can think of a lot of answers to her tantrum, but click, disconnect a call, is probably the safest. Technology glitch is a useful excuse. Time to sit with DH and discuss things. Ask him if she treats him as a second-rate person too. But other than that, congratulations on your new arrival, and please, you enjoy the time bonding with that miracle. -10, the cliche about time flying, it is true. Also, drop MIL, let any communication be done by DH here. Same with your family, you do that side. I wonder if husband is the scapegoat and the other the golden child. Had the same thought. MIL obsessed with my weight post-birth. I'm 7W postpartum and MIL keeps making comments about my weight and tells me that I've lost too much. At first, she kept warning me to not lose any pregnancy weight because it will hurt my milk supply. Where she got this from, because I'm not dieting, in fact, I'm eating more than I did during pregnancy. I just ignored her or changed the subject when she brought up my weight over and over again. She is visiting us again and just told me I've lost too much weight and it must be affecting my breastfeeding. I still have an oversupply of milk and haven't lost any weight I shouldn't have lost. I weigh more than I did pre-pregnancy and have always been slim in general. I'm a former athlete / had an active pregnancy. Baby is gaining weight well and pediatrician is not concerned. No matter how many times I tell her all this, she still finds a way to bring up my weight and connects it to breastfeeding. What is her obsession with my weight about? How do I get her to leave me alone? I would tell her that exactly. My doctor and baby doctor see zero issues with either of our weight, so why are you so obsessed with my weight? You are making me very uncomfortable, please stop. I like this. Thank you. Well, the subtle approach isn't working. So, your husband takes his mother aside and tells her to stop mentioning your weight and your breastfeeding. The end. That's it. You have more important things to deal with, he needs to step in. This OP. You supposed to have a partner. Get him to act like one. Alternatively, you can just reply to each and every one of these comment with a yes MIL's name, you are right, with a smile on your face. Don't argue, don't try to prove her wrong, as it won't help, unfortunately. She will not see reason. But one thing that she can't argue with is, when you tell her she is right. Some women are just genetically lucky. There is nothing wrong with you. Enjoy your time with little one and don't let the witch ruin your mood. The doctor said my weight is fine. They did say I need to reduce stress, though, so I won't be talking about this further. This topic is off limits. MIL, it's very impolite to comment on other people's body size. Please stop. Yes. This is it. My body is no longer a topic of discussion. If you bring it up again, I'm going to ask you to leave. How do you get her to leave you alone? MIL, I have told you that the doctor says everything is fine. That is the end of this conversation. If you bring up my weight again, it will be the end of the visit and we will not be seeing you for X days/weeks. Am I clear? When she inevitably comes back with, "I'm just concerned, if you get too thin blah blah blah," pick up the baby, your purse, and your diaper bag and leave. If she's at your house, hand her her coat and purse and hustle her to the door. If you're on the phone, hang up. Do not see her/talk to her/text with her for X days/weeks. Then try again, but be ready to repeat as needed. Totally agree with this. You can't really control her behavior, you can only control your response to it. Every time she goes there, you end the interaction. A boundary without a consequence is just a suggestion. Say loudly so everyone else can hear you, "My body and my breasts are none of your business. Please stop bringing it up to me, it's very upsetting." It really helps to have witnesses. I'd recommend stopping after the first part. The second part gives her what she wants, she's getting to you, and will just encourage her to do it more. Stop entertaining her speculation about this. Don't engage or explain at all because when you do, you're telling her it's okay for her to talk to you about these things. Just tell her, "Mil, please stop commenting on my body. It's making me uncomfortable." If she argues, just tell her she's being rude. You can phrase it however you think would work best. "I know you probably don't realize how rude it's considered these days to comment on people's bodies, so I wanted to speak up instead of letting you embarrass yourself. Unless someone brings up their body, breasts, or other personal topics to you first, it's best not to say anything. Just be pleasant and firm. And if she does it again in future, just remind her, "Mil, please stop with the body talk. We've had this conversation and I'm not going to discuss my body with you." Perhaps look her sternly in the eye, and say something like, "Your comments were not welcome the first time you made them. They are not welcome now. If you wish to have a relationship with me and my child, you will not bring this up again." Are we clear? I love this comment, it's so strong. Mil wants us to build our new house in their backyard. My in-laws have a few acres outside of the city we live in and they are currently trying to figure out how to keep the property further into the long term. One solution that has now been tabled is that my husband and I build a new house on one corner of the property. Just know. Mil has walked me around that area a couple times, excitedly explaining the layout of this house and how great it would be. Husband owns the home we currently live in and I love this place. Husband is also hoping more real estate ownership can improve our financial situation and has independently brought up how great it would be to invest in his parents' property. In-laws are lovely, for the most part, but Mil meddles a lot. Wow, wedding planning was interesting, and political conversations always come up with them and it's clear we don't agree on some things, which is fine. But I do not want to live in their backyard or get so wrapped up with them financially. The thing is, husband owns our home, exclusively, which is where he would pull equity from to invest in their property. I don't think he would do this without me, but if he wanted to, am I just along for the ride and have no say? How can I handle these persistent suggestions from Mil? Building a house on someone else's land doesn't sound like an investment, but more like a disaster waiting to happen. You could never sell it independently for starters. Has he ever talked to a financial advisor before? I think some research needs to be done before starting anything. A real estate lawyer would probably have some good advice. For real. No one wants to buy a granny unit on someone else's property. This would be a hard no for me. Family and finances never mix. I'd make it clear to DH that while you appreciate their offer, you don't want to live on their property or mix finances. Learn this the hard way, don't do it OP. I second this. My husband and I are renting from his parents who also happen to live right next door to our rental home, so we've been mixing family and finances. Long story short, there's been so many more arguments d/t my in-laws not respecting boundaries, and we feel as though we have no real privacy. We also feel indebted to them, and they seem to always remind us that they're doing us a favor by renting to us. Husband is also hoping more real estate ownership can improve our financial situation and has independently brought up how great it would be to invest in his parents' property. Did he explain how this is supposed to make you money? Are your in-laws starting a business, hosting Airbnbs, going to start renting space for events, starting a private campground, starting an organic farm to grow produce for sale? If not, assuming everything goes well, at best, your husband might inherit the property when his parents pass, possibly decades in the future. Personally, I had a relative who did this with the agreement that they would inherit the property. They paid half the mortgage for years for their parents, but somehow the parent was able to refinance the mortgage several times without telling the relative who invested. The house ended up underwater and being surrendered to the bank. Relative lost all chance of getting any of the tens of thousands they had invested. If you and your husband decide to do this, please talk to a property attorney first and protect your assets in every possible way. As to the question of whether he can do this without you, that's a legal question too. It's best to ask a lawyer about that, since marital property laws can vary depending on where you live. Why don't his parents build another home on the property and either rent it for income or Airbnb it if they need investment for the long term? Can you even imagine renting an Airbnb owned by a JustNoMil? Dear Lord. Also, with the home being built, are they also allowing you to purchase the land? Because technically they would own your house. Just don't do it. Choose your gut. Subdivide the property and have them deed the lot to your husband. Then he can build a rental home on the property. You and him stay in your current home but do nothing until the property is in his name. I rather doubt that would satisfy MIL's plans. No. Do not do this. It's a trap. Just say you already have a house. End of story. If your husband wants more investment properties, then he can buy another place entirely to rent out. You do not need to invest anything into his parents' property. That helps them, not you. Hard pass. I am at capacity with my relationship with your mom. Pressuring me to live so close to her will ruin our relationship. I will not be financially tied to your parents in this way. I am uncomfortable with even the thought of it. I need personal space. A compromise you could bring to him would be he can build a house there and y'all rent it out but do not live there. I would also question whether ILs are legally able to allow another single-family property on their land. There might be zoning issues and subdivision may have to happen. Yes, check the zoning, frontage, and emergency access laws in your area. Also, point out the potential issues of one person owning the land and another owning the building if things go sideways. They'd probably have to get it surveyed by a qualified surveyor to propose splitting the land, issuing new titles, and getting this all approved by the local authorities. Your bottom line is that if they could organize all of this above so that you can have independence from them. This has to be a decision shared with your husband as a united front. I am confident that pushing for this reasonable compromise will end the nagging. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.